Good evening, you're watching Estuary News. Coming up, we visit Spurn Point to see how money is being spent on the lighthouse. And we find out why there's a call for horse riders to be the eyes and ears of the police. And we take to the streets to find out your views on schools taking responsibility to spot the warning signs of extremist behaviour. Welcome to Estuary News. I'm Emma Lingard, but first it's over to Dan Kemp for the news headlines.
Hello there. Dong Energy have unveiled Siemens as their wind turbine provider for the largest offshore wind farm in the world. The Hornsea Project 1 farm is set to be almost double the size of the current record holder and is located 120 kilometres off the Yorkshire coast. Siemens will supply 171 turbines subject to Dong Energy's final investment decision expected late next year.
It's because of projects like this that you generate a supply chain. Siemens, who built the 6 megawatt turbines that we're using here, are now got the confidence, and because we're going ahead with other projects to build the factory in Hull, that's going to generate a large number of jobs. For the economy itself, whilst we've been in construction, we've had 900 people actually involved in constructing this wind farm, and going forward we've got between 50 and 60 people based here in the O&M base here at the Royal Dock, but also we've had the construction office, which is in the fish dock. That's probably going to move forward now and support the Race Bank project, which we made a final decision to move forward on.
Only the UK's second female bishop has been consecrated at a ceremony at York Minster. The Reverend Canon Alison White has officially become the Bishop of Hull during the service, conducted by the Archbishop of York, Dr John Sentamu. Hull City Council is urging motorists with children to get their seats safely checked. The last car seat clinic took place at Asda Kingswood last month and resulted in a 90% fail rate.
I think the problem is there's that many different car seats and that many different manufacturers around nowadays. And you look at the instructions. I've had it myself. I've had 2 children where I've looked at the instructions and it's taken me hours to work out how it goes. And everyone is different. So why don't we have a national standard? It seems simple to me, like a simple solution to have a national standard.
Following last weekend's Armed Forces Days, Beverley takes its turn to honour the military on Sunday. And Councillor David Elvidge, the chairman of the town's celebrations, is looking forward to giving Beverley the chance to remember its Armed Forces history.
The parade will be a march to honour the freedom of the Defence School of Transport. They have the freedom of the borough. They'll be there with rifles fixed and bayonets, as they say, and the veterans will be there and the cadets and everything. And it's a way of acknowledging and showing respect for the whole of the armed forces, past, present and future.
And that's all from me. Bye for now.
In April, the £500,000 restoration of Spurn Lighthouse began. The black and white tower has been a waypoint marking the outcrop of land into the Humber for many years, preventing unsuspecting vessels from running aground. But now it's turned green as part of the latest stage of redevelopment. Dan Kemp went to find out more.
The road to Spurn has become distinctly more challenging in recent times. This is a route that contractors must now take to work every day to work on the lighthouse in one of the UK's most isolated positions.
Driving up and down from the top of Spurn Point to the bottom, we've now purchased 2 Land Rovers to allow us to do that, which hopefully will be useful on other projects. The tides shift daily, so it's moving the Spurn Point, but our lads have took to it and they're doing okay.
But it's all for a good cause. The Yorkshire Wildlife Trust want to open the lighthouse to visitors to enhance the experience for those choosing to head to Spurn.
The building was tired, it's what the Victorians provided us with. It was used by Trinity House and then the ownership passed to Yorkshire Wildlife Trust a number of years ago. And we're a wildlife charity, so we need to find, we have a Grade 2 listed building, and how do we maintain it?
From the top of the building, the views are stunning. The iconic structure is now mid-renovation and working towards completion in September.
We're redecorating it, we're doing the electrics inside, rewiring it. The scaffolding's gone up, which has been a bit of a challenge in itself, but we've now got it all up.
Many different lighthouses have stood on the spit of land. The earliest records of one standing on Spurn date back to the 15th century, with the existing one dating back to 1895. In its existence, the land has always evolved, and how is something visitors will be able to learn when it opens.
We would hope to see people coming down to the lighthouse, and you want to go to the top, and on the way up there will be information and stories about Spurn. When I say stories, it's that background. Why is the lighthouse here? Why Spurn here? What's the importance to wildlife? What's the importance to shipping? So there's a mix of information and stories that are going to go in that lighthouse, and we can get our charitable aims across to the public who come on to Spurn.
You're watching Estuary News. Coming up, we head to Hull to find out about the latest investment at the university. And we find out why there's a call for horse riders to be the eyes and ears of the police. And Dan Kemp will bring you the latest local sport. You're watching Estuary News. I'm Emma Lingard. On Wednesday, new legislation came in which will see teachers being required to spot the warning signs of extremist behaviour and those children who could be at risk, as well as ensuring pupils are safe online. The new legislation aims to stop youngsters being drawn into terrorist activity, with lessons exploring the issue. We asked people on the streets of Grimsby whether they thought it was right for schools to take on this responsibility.
They need to spend a bit more on defence, because we're getting involved with like Russia and stuff, and spending less on defence is a bit silly.
To spend more money, they should stop giving the MPs so much free rein with the taxpayers' money.
Like the NHS, because the NHS is like really bad.
Education and national health, honestly.
Opportunities for young children getting into work, apprenticeships, education, NHS.
Of course, the national health, I think that's always been a really good thing, although I was born after it came in. But yeah, I do think so, because I think we're maybe the envy of the world because we've got that.
Humberside Police have been providing schools and colleges with a greater understanding when it comes to terrorism. New legislation which states that teachers will have a legal responsibility to ensure pupils are not drawn into extremist activity. The police were on hand to offer advice and practical resources at this event.
Schools and colleges coming together to share ideas and working practices. Not an unusual sight, but the Counter-Terrorism and Security Act 2015 coming into force today puts a statutory duty on schools to prevent youngsters from being drawn into terrorism. Humberside Police has provided a training session to school leaders in East Yorkshire and Northern Lincolnshire to equip them with the skills needed to be able to identify children at risk and challenge extremist ideas.
Unfortunately, in this world of the way the extremists work and radicalisation, no one agency can solve this. It needs to have a multi-agency place where everybody has a role in it and we all know what our role is and we work together to maximise that safeguarding opportunity. It's been very hard for schools to put that level of work into it because of the curriculum and the activities they have to do, and there's not always the space to talk about radicalisation in some of the prevent agenda. But just recently, obviously, Ofsted have raised the issue as well, which has highlighted how important it is to prevent that extremist view getting into schools.
Schools need more awareness of what's going on nationally. Sometimes I think that if you're not careful, you can fall into the bubble of this might not apply to us. It applies to everybody, and so we're always looking for new ways to bring it into our curriculum. So I think today's and events like this are really, really important for everybody. It's been really good to network today during the break, speaking to other schools, seeing what works for them, seeing what works for their staff, for their pupils. Yes, it's a really good experience.
Together with members of the Counter-Terrorism and Extremism team, students from White College took to the stage to perform a piece around the issue. It was a busy day all round, but with plans for specially created lessons and resources to be rolled out across the profession, it looks like teachers will be spending time on this way into the future. Erica Barker, Estuary TV.
Well, joining me now to look through the week's news stories is Dan Kemp. Dan, what have you found for us? Anything interesting?
A lot of interesting stories. We'll start off with a ghostly intruder at a Louth coffee shop.
Oh, yes.
Which is something that you brought to my attention.
I did, yes. And I have been on the phone, actually, to the owner's daughter about that. And this is a story we're going to come to next week.
Well, hopefully we'll have...
Let us know what...
Hopefully we'll have CCTV footage of it next week. That's the aim anyway. We'll see what we can do. Yeah, this is a Louth coffee shop, which I suppose had sightings via CCTV of a ghost. The people upstairs were obviously, I think they were asleep in bed, and they thought they'd heard an intruder downstairs in the coffee shop, which they obviously live above. And they went downstairs to find nothing was there. And the police were called, armed with tasers, to find nothing.
The police actually, I believe, have said in a statement that it might have been a ghost.
Yeah, they're obviously open to the idea as...
They were there as Ghostbusters.
Oh, what else could it be? You know, you're a bit of a believer in the paranormal.
Well, I like to have an open mind about things. That, yeah, maybe there are things out there if you can't have a rational explanation for, then, yeah. But yeah, we're going to pop along and...
Well, I think it's a smudge on the camera.
But yeah. That story, that made the nationals that day.
It has. It's been in all sorts of different national media.
It has. Yeah.
Even if you don't believe in it, I suppose it's
good
publicity for them. So I don't think they'll be complaining if it's a ghost or not.
We're going up to do a bit of ghost busting then.
And as I say, we'll hopefully have some footage next week as well to show people.
Brilliant.
Right, next up from the Scunthorpe Telegraph, this is with the soaring temperatures, of course, around the country as we've been experiencing in the last couple of days.
Yes.
This is animals specifically being left in cars, and of course the danger that poses to people, to the animals when they're in the hot weather. This is Keith Evans, who's from the British Institute of Professional Dog Training, and he's given some advice on what people should do if they see an animal that's, I suppose, suffering. He's said that his advice to anyone that thinks a dog is suffering or is likely to suffer is that they should call the police, and that there's no protection against people for breaking off their own back. That is unless, in the gravest circumstances, they can justify their actions to the police as reasonable during any subsequent investigation.
I think this is something that I've seen a few people asking this question in social media is, what is the law with regards to you breaking a window if you see an animal suffering in a car? Or, you know, I suppose, well, not just animals, some people lock the children in the cars, don't they, in this hot weather? Which
Speak for yourself.
But I don't lock my children in a car.
I suppose he says it's criminal damage.
Well, exactly. You're going to get penalties for it.
Yeah, unless it's under the gravest of circumstances.
But what do they class as the gravest of circumstances?
I assume... Well, it's difficult to tell in a dog who can't communicate with a human.
Well, I think
I would have thought,
you can see a dog is suffering from heat stroke to know. So is that classed as a grave situation? Well, I know there's many animal lovers rather out there, I'm sure, that would probably take to smashing windows.
Basically, they're saying, if you're in any doubt, call the police on 999 as well. That's what they're saying in the Scunthorpe Telegraph. It's not a 101 jobby. And other than if in the very, very most severe circumstances, that's when you need to take the action yourself.
Yeah, and if this hot weather is set to continue, it's something that people need to be mindful of, isn't it?
Good for cricket, not for dogs in cars.
Next story then.
Yep, this is in the Grimsby Telegraph that the Brigg power station has been saved from closure.
Right, yes.
So they're going to power it down, but they're going to make sure it can still run on, I suppose, its lowest possible.
Because that is Centrica, isn't it? That
yes, it's Centrica Power Station.
Yeah.
Their Director of Operations, even Mark Futchian, has said that the power station will now operate at a reduced capacity, but it will allow the site to continue playing a key role during its high demand times.
So jobs have been saved there,
15
have they?
jobs, yeah.
Okay.
15 jobs. So that's another good bit of news for the area.
Yeah, it is.
On the back of the announcements we've had in the last couple of days in our news.
Yeah.
With regards to the wind turbines.
Exactly, with the 1,000 jobs being employed in the Grimsby area, isn't it?
Feels like everything on both banks of the Humber is, I suppose, on the up.
Positive.
With regards to jobs anyway.
Okay.
Yes.
Anything else?
Let's see what we've got next. This one is a church which has installed a new stained glass window. This is in the Scunthorpe Telegraph. They had the opportunity to submit designs over the last 4 years, which is at Holy Souls Church, on Frodingham Road. For the last 4 years, people have had the opportunity to send in different suggestions, as in the Silver Jubilee in 1936, in its Silver Jubilee for the parish, and in 1961, its Golden Jubilee, they've installed stained glass windows.
Okay.
So they've decided that they need to.
So the stained glass windows they've got have all been contributed then by the community, have they?
Yes, they have. Yeah, it's probably one of the first windows showing these different saints at the church as well.
Okay, that's
all sorts of saints. It's not my area of expertise. I won't pretend. But the window is the contribution of the Polish-speaking community, which has been part of the life of Holy Soul since 1949 as well. I'm informed.
That is another one for you to follow up there then. Thank you very much for that, Dan. Hull University has received a £40 million boost to its finances thanks to investment from the European Investment Bank. It comes after recent improvements to the campus library, Middleton Hall and new student accommodation. We sent Dave Nunn along to find out more.
Hull University has been riding on a wave after a huge new investment in infrastructure. Now the university is receiving a £40 million investment from the European Central Investment Bank.
We are marking the signature of a loan of 40 million, which we are making to the university here to help support development of facilities, buildings and projects here more generally.
The bank has invested £1.5 billion in universities around the UK in the last 5 years and has picked out Hull for specific reasons.
The universities they will approach us for the funding, but the things that we particularly look out for are ambitious but value for money projects which will make a clearly important measurable contribution to the development of the university. We like to look at research facilities, we like to support accommodation, refurbishment, and in particular we like to see where the university itself and the development of the university is also going to have an important knock-on effect to the wider economy, and all of those things apply here, so we're very happy to be involved with it.
The loan has delighted Vice-Chancellor Callie Pistorius, who has big plans to invest the money in the student experience, as we can see from existing developments.
On the capital side we have a refurbishment of our library, which I would like to think is now one of the most modern university libraries. We've just started the project of new residences. The new building for the medical school will start soon, and a bigger health campus. We have the completion of our Middleton Hall, which will be a world-class concert facility. So many capital projects. But in the broader investment program, we also have investment in people, investment in academic endeavours, and above all of this is about investment in student experience.
The Vice-Chancellor says it all adds up to exciting times in the future of the university.
I think it's very exciting, especially everything is coming at more or less at the same time, and it really shows confidence, I think, and it shows growth, and that's a very exciting time.
With police budgets being cut, forces around the country are cutting frontline jobs, and people in rural communities say they've been hit pretty hard, seeing less patrols coming through. Now horse riders are being encouraged to take part in police authorised patrols, styled after the Neighbourhood Watch scheme, as Dave Nunn went to find out on the North Bank.
With police budgets being cut, forces around the country are looking for different ways to plug gaps, especially in rural communities. Horse riders are being encouraged to take part in patrols to plug gaps in rural policing.
It's really an extension of the volunteers and utilising the best skills that our volunteers can bring, both for Humberside Police and Humberside Fire and Rescue. It's the eyes and ears, really, out within the community, the rural communities. And I'd liken it very much like to Neighbourhood Watch, but Neighbourhood Watch on horseback.
For the police, it's about providing assurances to rural communities and providing a visible police presence, even if it is these rural patrols.
It is. It's adding that extra bit of security, that extra feel-good factor for residents that see the patrols in the area. They're obviously high visibility. They've got the high visibility clothing both on the rider and the horse, and they are labelled up with Humberside Fire and Rescue and Humberside Police. And as I say, it's the reassurance patrols. They're out there offering crime prevention advice. Indeed, we've only got 2 currently trained up, but one of them's already found some stolen property from theft from a vehicle, and they've also given out quite a lot of crime prevention advice to farmers and people visiting the rural countryside.
Any scheme such as this is bound to raise concerns, with people asking surely it's just better to have actual police officers on patrols. But the police say this is a viable alternative.
It's not an alternative to police officers, it's an extension to the Homicide Police and Fire and Rescue Volunteer Scheme, and it's the additional patrols that we've got out there. And as I say, it really isn't about reducing police officers in any way, shape or form, it's just complementing what we're already doing out there in the communities.
The police say that feedback from rural communities has been good so far.
It's been really positive, as I say. There's a lot of feedback about crime prevention advice. Within, as I say, the first patrol, one of the patrols found some stolen property that had been stolen from a motor vehicle, and we were able to recover that and replace that or return that to the owner of the vehicle.
Now it's over to Dan Kemp for the sports news.
The non-league football fixtures have been released. Grimsby Town open up their campaign away at Kidderminster Harriers on the 8th of August, while North Ferriby United kick off away to Tamworth. Both sides then host their first games 3 days later, when the Mariners host Barrow and the Villagers play Chorley. In a controversial move, Hull's 2 rugby league sides will merge their academies from next season. The move is part of the Super Academy scheme, strongly encouraged by the RFL. It'll mean Hull FC and KR's under-16s and under-19s will come together to give youngsters the benefit of enhanced resources to try and develop more homegrown players for both professional clubs in the future. The academy is yet to be named, while the kit is set to be yellow and blue, colours long associated with the livery of the city. They'll train at Bishop Burton College, and we'll bring you more on this as the story develops. Meanwhile, in the first teams, Hull FC have their perfect opportunity to restore some pride, following defeat to the Wakefield Trinity Wildcats in midweek, as they host the same opponents at the KC on Sunday. That game kicks off at 3 p.m, as does Hull KR's trip to the Huddersfield Giants. The Robins have gone 4 games unbeaten, with halfback Albert Kelly playing a major role in their surge into the Super 8 places. And some big news for ice hockey fans following last week's news that the Hull Stingrays have folded. The sport will continue on a professional basis in the city under the guise of the Hull Pirates, thanks to new owner Shane Smith, who also owns the Sheffield Steel Dogs. The side will compete in the sport's second tier, the Premier League, from September. They'll continue to play at the Hull Arena, and we expect coaching announcements to start coming through shortly. In football, Scunthorpe United have signed former loanee Luke Williams on a permanent basis. He scored twice in 6 games during a spell at Glanford Park last season. Hull City have boosted their under-21 squad for next season with the acquisition of Taylor Tombines and Greg Ollie on a 12-month deal each. Tombines did represent the side towards the end of last term, while on trial from West Ham, while Ollie joins from Newcastle, having been highly recommended by now former goalkeeper Steve Harper. Meanwhile, first-team centre-half Harry Maguire will be remaining with the club after manager Steve Bruce reportedly rejected a bid from Bristol City. And finally, Yorkshire and Lancashire face off in their second Roses clash of this year's T20 Blast tonight. The Tykes will be without Adil Rashid following his call-up to the England's Ashes squad, so coach Jason Gillespie has called up alternatives James Middlebrook and Carl Carver. And that's all for the sport.
That's it. Join us again next week for more news. If you have a story for us, then go to our Facebook or Twitter pages or email news@estuary.tv or pick up the phone. Till next time, goodbye.
Hello and welcome to Estuary TV's weather. Thundery rain clearing away to the north first thing on Saturday, another fine and dry day to follow with sunny spells, and again it will be very warm and a maximum temperature of 25 degrees Celsius. Sunday feeling fresher with sunny intervals and showers, locally heavy.